Have you ever wondered what would happen if your biggest betrayal became your greatest opportunity? What if the moment your boss stabbed you in the back was actually the moment you discovered your true power? And what if walking out that door wasn't the end of your story, but the beginning of your revenge? Let me tell you about the day my 7-year nightmare became my $1 million dream. The rain hammered against Clint Ramsey's office window like bullets against armor. I should have known something was wrong when he wouldn't meet my eyes during our Monday morning meeting. For 7 years, Clint had been all handshakes and backslaps, but today his smile felt rehearsed. "Jenny, we need to talk." His voice carried a weight I'd never heard before. I set down my coffee and studied his face. The man who'd promised me equity, raises, and partnership looked like he was about to deliver a death sentence. Cedar Creek Solutions had been my life's work. Every line of code, every client saved, every crisis averted had my fingerprints on it. "We're restructuring," he said, finally making eye contact. "Gotta let you go. Don't take it personal." The words hit me like a freight train. 7 years. No raises. No title changes. No equity. And now this. But as I sat there, watching Clint fidget with his pen, I realized something he didn't know. Something that would change everything. For months, I'd been questioning whether Cedar Creek was really my future, whether Clint's promises would ever materialize into reality. I wasn't just his employee anymore. I was his competition. 7 years earlier, Cedar Creek Solutions operated out of a strip mall between a tax office and a Chinese restaurant. Clint had recruited me from my stable corporate job with promises that felt as real as the cracked linoleum under our feet. "This industry's ripe for disruption, Jenny," he'd said, gesturing at the cramped office space. "Trucking companies are drowning in paperwork, and we're going to save them." I believed him. The passion in his voice, the vision he painted, it all seemed so achievable. Back-office software for America's trucking industry wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary. And I was good at building necessary things. Those first months, we worked 18-hour days. I coded while Clint cold-called potential clients. We ate takeout dinners over keyboards and celebrated every small win like we'd conquered the world. When our first real client signed, a mid-sized freight company in Toledo, we thought we'd made it. "Big things are coming, Jenny," Clint said that night. "Just hang on." But as I packed my desk 7 years later, I wondered when exactly those promises had started feeling like lies. Year 2 brought our first major contract. Year 3 brought recognition in the industry. By year 4, Cedar Creek was processing logistics for companies across the Midwest. But my paycheck remained frozen in time. "Next quarter," Clint would say when I brought up raises. "After the Morrison deal closes." Then it became, "after we land the Redline account." Then simply, "soon." I watched him buy a new truck. Then a boat. His office got remodeled twice while mine kept the same flickering fluorescent light that made my eyes water during late-night coding sessions. The breaking point came during year 6. Redline Haulers, our biggest potential client, was ready to walk because of a critical system failure. I worked 72 hours straight to fix it, sleeping under my desk, surviving on energy drinks and determination. When Redline signed a 3-year extension worth $2.8 million, Clint threw a company party. He gave a speech about our amazing team and shared success. My bonus that month? A $50 gift card to a steakhouse. That night, staring at the pathetic gift card, I realized something profound. If I didn't build my future, Clint never would. I started building something in my spare time. Something that would make Cedar Creek's clunky system look like stone tools. They say the best revenge is success, but I wasn't thinking about revenge when I started coding at midnight. I was thinking about possibility. My apartment became a laboratory. While Clint slept soundly in his suburban mansion, I architected a new kind of freight management system, one that could handle real-time tracking, automated billing, and predictive logistics analytics. Everything Cedar Creek should have been but wasn't. The irony wasn't lost on me. During the day, I fixed Cedar Creek's bugs and maintained their aging codebase. At night, I built their replacement. I called it Freight Flow. Clean, intuitive, powerful. Everything our current clients complained Cedar Creek wasn't. I built it using open-source frameworks and existing APIs, occasionally hiring freelance developers for specialized modules. I tested it with dummy data from public shipping records, refined the algorithms, and polished the interface until it gleamed. 6 months into the project, I realized something unsettling. Freight Flow wasn't just better than Cedar Creek's system. It was revolutionary. And I was building it in a world where Clint Ramsey had no idea what was coming. But that would change soon enough. Because revolution, I learned, requires more than just code. It requires capital. The Logistics Expo in Columbus felt like every other trade show, buzzing with industry veterans and coffee-fueled conversations about market inefficiencies. I almost didn't go. Clint had encouraged me to attend, claiming it would be good for company visibility. Translation. He wanted me to scout competitors while he played golf. That's where I met Harvey Collins. He wasn't working a booth or pitching investors. Harvey was studying display screens with the intensity of a surgeon, occasionally jotting notes in a worn leather notebook. Something about his quiet focus drew my attention. "The software's impressive," I said, nodding toward the demonstration he was watching. Harvey looked up, and I saw something in his eyes I'd rarely encountered in this industry. Genuine intelligence. "Impressive for 2015, maybe," he replied. "But freight moves faster than these systems can think." We talked for 2 hours over increasingly cold coffee. Harvey ran Collins Freight Network, a company I'd heard of but never fully appreciated. Midwest routes, specialized cargo, the kind of operation that demanded precision. When I mentioned Cedar Creek, his expression darkened slightly. "I know Clint Ramsey," he said quietly. Something in his tone made my pulse quicken. "Clint pitched us 5 years ago," Harvey continued, stirring his coffee absently. "Big promises. Revolutionary software. Game-changing efficiency." I felt my stomach tighten. What happened? We signed a pilot program. 6 months to test Cedar Creek's system with our Cleveland routes. Harvey's jaw tightened. 3 weeks in, the software crashed during peak shipping season. Lost tracking on 47 loads. Cost us 6 figures in penalties and nearly killed our relationship with 3 major clients. The coffee shop noise faded into background static. I'd never heard this story. When we demanded answers, Clint blamed it on user error and unrealistic expectations. No accountability. No fixes. Just excuses and bills for services that nearly destroyed our business. Harvey leaned forward. "So when you tell me you work for Cedar Creek, I'm curious what someone with your obvious intelligence is doing in that environment." The question hung between us like a challenge. I could have deflected, made excuses, protected my employer's reputation. Instead, I made a decision that would change everything. "What if I told you I'd built something better?" Harvey's eyes sharpened. "I'd say show me." Our second meeting happened in Harvey's office. A modest space that belied the sophisticated operation he ran. Collins Freight Network processed over $200 million in cargo annually, but Harvey's desk still had coffee stains and family photos alongside shipping manifests. I brought my laptop and a prayer. Freight Flow's demo lasted 27 minutes. Harvey watched silently as I walked him through real-time tracking, automated route optimization, and predictive maintenance scheduling. When I showed him the cost analysis module, projecting 23% efficiency gains over existing systems, He finally spoke. This is what Clint promised us 5 years ago. This is what Clint wishes he could build, I corrected. Harvey called in his CTO, a sharp woman named Patricia who asked questions that would have stumped most software engineers. I answered them all. When she stress-tested the system with hypothetical scenarios, freight flow performed flawlessly. How long before this goes to market? Patricia asked. I hesitated. I wasn't sure it was ready for the market, yet. I've been treating it as an advanced prototype. Harvey and Patricia exchanged a look I couldn't decipher. Jenny, Harvey said carefully, what would it take to make this more than a side project? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Clint, need to see you first thing Monday morning. Important discussion. My blood turned to ice. Monday morning arrived with that same relentless rain. I'd spent the weekend in a state of anxious paranoia, wondering what Clint knew and how he'd found out. Had he discovered my meetings with Harvey? Did he know about freight flow? His office felt smaller than usual, the walls pressing in like a trap. Jenny, we need to talk. The words came out too rehearsed, too practiced. I studied his face, searching for clues. Clint had always been easy to read, his emotions played across his features like weather patterns. But today, he wore the mask of a man who'd made an unpleasant decision and wanted it over quickly. We're restructuring, he said, still avoiding eye contact. Market's changing. Need to streamline operations. Gotta let you go. Don't take it personal. The casual brutality of it stunned me. 7 years reduced to corporate buzzwords and hollow reassurances. No acknowledgement of my contributions. No gratitude for the countless nights I'd saved his company. Effective immediately, he continued. HR will handle the paperwork. We'll provide references, of course. I sat there, watching him fidget with his pen, and realized something profound. Clint Ramsey had just made the biggest mistake of his career. He'd set me free. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even argue. Instead, I smiled. I understand, I said, standing calmly. These things happen. Clint looked genuinely surprised by my composure. He'd probably expected tears or anger. Something that would make him feel justified in his decision. Your final paycheck will include 2 weeks severance, he said, clearly uncomfortable with my reaction. That's generous. I walked to my desk and began packing 7 years of my professional life into cardboard boxes. Colleagues avoided eye contact, embarrassed by the awkwardness of corporate execution. A few offered sympathetic smiles, but nobody challenged Clint's decision. As I loaded boxes into my car, my phone rang. Harvey Collins. Jenny? I heard what happened. Word travels fast in this industry. He paused. Clint's reputation for sudden personnel changes made sure news like this traveled faster than a freight truck on an empty highway. My hands trembled slightly as I balanced the phone against my ear. News travels faster than I expected. Are you available for dinner tonight? Patricia and I would like to discuss something with you. I looked back at the Cedar Creek office, where Clint was probably already celebrating his difficult but necessary business decision. I'm available, I said. What did you have in mind? Your future, Harvey replied. And ours. The restaurant Harvey chose wasn't fancy, a family-owned steakhouse where truckers and business executives sat at neighboring tables. But the conversation that unfolded over dinner would reshape my entire world. We've been watching Cedar Creek's market position, Patricia began, setting down a folder thick with financial documents. They're vulnerable. Outdated technology, poor customer service, and a reputation for overpromising and underdelivering. Harvey nodded. Their biggest weakness is also their biggest opportunity. Which is? Complacency, Harvey said. Clint thinks he owns this market because he got here first. But first mover advantage means nothing if you stop moving. Patricia opened the folder. We've done preliminary market analysis. Freight flow isn't just competitive, it's superior to anything currently available. With proper funding and strategic partnerships, it could capture significant market share within 18 months. My heart pounded. What are you proposing? Harvey leaned forward. Partnership. You bring the technology and industry knowledge. We bring capital, client relationships, and operational expertise. How much capital? I asked, hardly daring to breathe. Initial seed funding of $3.5 million, Patricia said matter-of-factly. With additional rounds based on performance milestones. The number hit me like lightning. More money than I'd made in 7 years at Cedar Creek. But Harvey wasn't finished. If you're loving Jenny's incredible journey from fired employee to million-dollar entrepreneur, show some support by hitting that like button and subscribing for more amazing stories of workplace revenge and business triumph. The legal paperwork took 3 weeks to finalize, but those were the most exhilarating 21 days of my career. Harvey's attorneys were thorough but fair. I retained majority ownership of Freight Flow while Collins Freight Network became our primary investor and strategic partner. We established headquarters in a modern office complex 15 minutes from Cedar Creek's outdated strip mall location. The symbolism wasn't lost on any of us. Patricia became our chief technology officer, bringing a team of developers who understood both freight logistics and cutting-edge software architecture. Within days, Freight Flow evolved from my midnight passion project into a legitimate enterprise platform. But the real breakthrough came when Harvey revealed the depth of his industry connections. Freight transportation is built on relationships, he explained during our first official board meeting. Contracts get signed in coffee shops and truck stops, not boardrooms. And I've been building those relationships for 20 years. He pulled out his phone and showed me a contact list that read like a directory of American logistics. Company presidents, operations managers, shipping coordinators, hundreds of decision-makers who trusted Harvey's judgment. They're all waiting to see what we build, he said. And that's when I realized, we weren't just competing with Cedar Creek. We were about to dominate them. 3 weeks after Freight Flow officially launched, my phone rang with a number I recognized but never expected to see again. Jenny Clark? This is Mike Rodriguez from Redline Haulers. My breath caught. Redline was Cedar Creek's flagship client, the account I'd personally saved multiple times over the years. Mr. Rodriguez. What can I do for you? Word's getting around about your new company. Some of our operations guys heard about Freight Flow at the Columbus Expo. His voice carried a note of curiosity mixed with frustration. We're having some issues with our current software provider. I kept my voice professionally neutral. What kind of issues? System crashes. Data inconsistencies. And frankly, customer service that's gone downhill recently. He paused. Look, I know you used to work for Cedar Creek. This call isn't about bad-mouthing your former employer. But our shipping season starts in 6 weeks, and we need to know our software won't fail us. This was it. The moment every entrepreneur dreams of, your biggest competitor's most valuable client reaching out directly. I'd be happy to schedule a demonstration, I said, my heart racing. When would be convenient? How about Thursday morning? And Jenny? Bring your best pitch. If this goes well, we're talking about a multi-year contract worth more than anything Redline's ever signed. Thursday's presentation to Redline haulers felt like walking into the Roman Colosseum. Their conference room overlooked Cedar Creek's office building, and I could practically feel Clint's presence across the parking lot. Mike Rodriguez brought his entire operations team, 12 seasoned logistics professionals who'd seen every software promise and lived through every technological disappointment. They weren't here to be impressed, they were here to be convinced. Freight Flow's presentation lasted 90 minutes. I demonstrated real-time cargo tracking, automated billing reconciliation, and predictive analytics that could forecast maintenance needs before trucks broke down. When Rodriguez's operations manager threw hypothetical crisis scenarios at the system, Freight Flow handled them flawlessly. "This is what we've been waiting for," Rodriguez said finally. "Professional software built by people who understand our business." But then he delivered news that changed everything. "Jenny, I need to be transparent with you. Yesterday, Clint Ramsey called me personally. He knows you're here. He knows about Freight Flow. And he's threatening to take legal action if we terminate our Cedar Creek contract." The room fell silent. Through the conference room window, I could see Cedar Creek's building, and I wondered if Clint was watching us at that very moment. "What kind of legal action?" I asked. Rodriguez's expression darkened. "He's claiming you stole proprietary technology." The lawsuit arrived on a Friday afternoon, 47 pages of legal threats, intellectual property claims, and character assassination disguised as corporate defense. Clint alleged that Freight Flow was built using Cedar Creek's proprietary code and that I'd violated my employment agreement by developing competing software. Harvey's response was swift and decisive. Every line of Freight Flow's code was written independently, he declared during an emergency meeting with our legal team. "We have timestamps, version control records, and development logs proving Jenny built this entirely outside her Cedar Creek employment." But Clint wasn't fighting fair. Word spread through industry channels that Freight Flow was stolen technology, and that clients risked legal exposure by switching platforms. Some potential customers began expressing concerns about the controversy. That's when Patricia delivered devastating news during our Monday morning strategy session. "I've been monitoring Cedar Creek's system performance," she said, pulling up traffic analytics on her laptop. "Their infrastructure is failing. Response times are deteriorating, and they're experiencing regular outages." "Why?" I asked. "Because you're not there to fix it anymore." Harvey leaned forward, understanding immediately. "How long before their system collapses completely?" Patricia's smile was predatory. "At this rate? Could be weeks, maybe even days if they hit peak shipping loads. Their infrastructure can't handle the stress without proper maintenance." Suddenly, Clint's legal threats felt less like weapons and more like the desperate flailing of a drowning man. The call came on a Tuesday morning exactly 8 weeks after Clint had fired me. My lawyer's voice carried barely contained excitement. "Jenny, you need to see the news. Cedar Creek system crashed during yesterday's peak shipping hours. Complete failure. Redline haulers lost tracking on their entire East Coast fleet." I pulled up the industry trade publications on my laptop. The headlines told the story. Cedar Creek Solutions suffers major system failure, Redline Haulers seeks emergency software provider, industry questions Cedar Creek's stability, but the most satisfying headline came from the local business journal. Former Cedar Creek employee startup gains major client following competitor's collapse. That afternoon, Mike Rodriguez called personally. "Jenny, we're terminating our Cedar Creek contract immediately. When can we start implementing Freight Flow? How about next week?" I replied, watching through my office window as Collins Freight Network trucks rolled past Cedar Creek's increasingly empty parking lot. The final twist came 2 months later. Clint Ramsey called me directly, his voice stripped of its old confidence. "Jenny, I made a mistake. We're in serious trouble here. Would you consider consulting for us? Just temporarily, to help stabilize our systems?" I know it's a lot to ask, but... I smiled, remembering that rainy Monday when he'd fired me without blinking. "I'm afraid I'm too busy," I said. "Freight Flow just signed our 15th major client. But thanks for the call, Clint. And thanks for setting me free. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success, it's watching your former boss realize exactly what he threw away." Jenny's story proves that sometimes our biggest setbacks become our greatest comebacks. Have you ever been undervalued at work? Ever had a boss who made promises they never kept? Or maybe you've dreamed of starting your own business but weren't sure you had what it takes. Drop a comment below and share your own workplace story. I'd love to hear how you turned your challenges into victories. And if Jenny's journey inspired you, smash that like button, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales of entrepreneurs who refuse to stay down. Remember, sometimes the best thing your boss can do for you is fire you. It just might be the push you need to build something amazing.